She was chased away by the wealthy CEO family. 12 years later, he saw her with twins who looked like him. A soft November rain kissed the weathered headstones of Silver Crest Cemetery, as two figures stood frozen on opposite sides of a narrow path. The man, tall and broad-shouldered in an expensive charcoal coat, stared at the woman as if she were a ghost risen from the very graves surrounding them. His voice, when it finally emerged, was barely more than a broken whisper. "You left. You disappeared without a trace, Harper. 12 years. 12 years I searched for you." The woman, her dark auburn hair dampened by mist, tightened her grip on the small hands of the two children beside her. Her amber eyes filled with tears as she met his gaze across the distance that felt both vast and impossibly small. "I had no choice, Callum. Your father made sure of that." His jaw clenched, confusion and pain warring across his features. Then his eyes dropped to the children. The boy and girl, no older than 11, stood perfectly still, watching him with eyes he recognized immediately. Not from photographs or distant memories, but from his own reflection every morning. Brilliant emerald green, flecked with gold, set in faces that carried both his features and hers in striking combination. The portfolio he had been carrying slipped from his grasp, scattering across wet gravel. His voice cracked as realization crashed over him like a tidal wave. "Are they mine?" Harper's tears spilled over, her voice trembling with 12 years of suppressed truth. "Callum, meet Asher and Willow, your son and daughter." The world seemed to tilt beneath his feet. Everything he thought he knew, every conclusion he had drawn about why she vanished, every sleepless night, spent wondering if he had imagined the depth of what they shared, all of it shattered in that single moment. He had children, twins, an entire family he never knew existed, and the woman he never stopped loving had carried this secret alone for over a decade. For a long, breathless moment, only the soft patter of rain and the distant cry of seagulls filled the silence between them. Then, slowly, Callum took a step forward. "Why?" His voice was raw with emotion. "Why didn't you tell me?" Harper looked down at the two children whose futures hung in the balance of this conversation, then back at the man she had loved with every fiber of her being, the man she had been forced to leave behind, because your father threatened to destroy me and take them away before they were even born, because I was 24 and terrified and he had all the power in the world, because I thought I was protecting you, protecting them, protecting the only good thing that ever happened to me. The rain began to fall harder, but none of them moved. This moment, 12 years in the making, demanded to be lived fully, no matter the weather, no matter the pain. Callum's eyes never left Harper's face as a dozen emotions played across his features. Anger, betrayal, grief, and beneath it all, the ember of a love that had never truly died. "I would have fought for you." His words were fierce, certain. "I would have fought for all of you." Harper's voice broke completely. "I know. That is what terrified me most, that you would fight and lose everything you had worked for, that you would come to resent me for it, that your father would win anyway, and I would have nothing, not even the children." Asher, the boy with his father's strong jawline and serious expression, spoke for the first time, his voice small but clear. "Are you really our dad?" Callum's gaze dropped to his son, and something fundamental shifted in his chest. He had spent 12 years building an empire, earning accolades, achieving everything his family name demanded. But looking into those eyes, his eyes, in a child he had never known, he understood for the first time what truly mattered. He lowered himself slowly to one knee on the wet gravel, bringing himself to eye level with the twins. "Yes, I am your father, and I have missed 12 years of your lives. But if you will let me, I would like to be here for every day that comes after this one." Willow, her mother's gentle features softened by childhood, tilted her head with careful consideration. "Mom says you are a good man who lives far away. But you are not far away right now." A sound escaped Callum that was half laugh, half sob. "No, sweetheart, I am not far away anymore, and I am never going to be far away again." Harper watched through her tears as Callum opened his arms in tentative invitation. After a moment's hesitation, both children stepped forward, and he wrapped them in an embrace that felt like coming home to a place he never knew he had been searching for. Standing there in the rain-soaked cemetery, with the man she loved holding the children they created, Harper felt the weight of 12 years begin to lift. The fear, the guilt, the endless wondering if she had made the right choice, all of it started to dissolve in the reality of this moment. But she also knew this was only the beginning. They had lost so much time. There were wounds that would take more than a single reunion to heal. And somewhere across town, the man who had orchestrated their separation still wielded power and influence. Callum looked up at her, the children still wrapped in his arms, and spoke with quiet intensity. "We need to talk. About everything. About what happened, why it happened, and what happens now." Harper nodded, her voice steadier now. "Yes, we do." As they stood together in that place of endings and remembrance, none of them knew that this chance meeting would unravel secrets far deeper than any of them imagined, that the truth about why Harper was forced to leave would reveal a betrayal more complex than simple family pride, and that the future they would build together would require confronting not just the past, but the dark foundations upon which the Grayson fortune had been built. But for now, in this fragile, precious moment, it was enough to simply stand together. A family fractured by fear and manipulation, taking the first trembling steps toward becoming whole. Callum Grayson had spent the last 12 years believing he had everything a man could want. He was about to discover he had been living with nothing at all. 3 months earlier, before the rain, before the cemetery, before the moment that would change everything, Callum Grayson stood in his corner office on the 42nd floor of Grayson Global Headquarters. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the sprawling coastal view of Silver Crest, a city that bore his family. His fingerprints on nearly every major development from the Harbor District to the Hillside Estates. At 38, he had achieved what his father, Preston Grayson, had spent a lifetime grooming him for. Chief Executive Officer of a technology and innovation firm valued at over $3 billion. A reputation as one of the most eligible bachelors on the West Coast, though. He rarely accepted the introductions well-meaning friends constantly offered. A penthouse apartment overlooking the bay, a collection of classic cars he never drove, and invitations to every charity gala and power dinner from Seattle to San Diego. The media called him the Golden Son of Silver Crest. Industry magazines featured him on covers with headlines about visionary leadership and market disruption. He sat on boards, mentored startups, and donated generously to causes his public relations team deemed strategically valuable. From the outside, his life appeared to be a masterpiece of ambition realized. From the inside, it felt like walking through a museum of someone else's accomplishments. Callum pressed his palm against the cool glass, watching fishing boats. Returned to harbor as afternoon light turned the water to hammered bronze. His reflection stared back, a man in a tailored navy suit, with dark hair showing the first threads of silver at the temples and eyes, that had learned to hide their emptiness behind professional warmth. He had not always been this way. There had been a time, brief and blazing, when he had felt fully alive, when every morning held possibility and every evening promised discovery, when a woman with auburn hair and a laugh like wind chimes had made him believe that life could be more than quarterly earnings and shareholder expectations. Harper Quinn. Even thinking her name after all these years felt like pressing on a bruise that never fully healed. She had been a landscape designer, young and passionate about creating green spaces in urban environments. They had met during a summer festival when he ducked into an art gallery to escape the crowds. She had been there sketching the interior courtyard, completely absorbed in her work, unaware of the CEO watching her from the doorway. When she finally looked up and caught him staring, she had not recognized his name or his face. She had simply smiled and asked if he liked gardens. That single question had been the beginning of everything. For 4 months, Callum had lived a double life. By day, he fulfilled his duties at Grayson Global, attending meetings and negotiating deals. By night, he met Harper at small cafes and walked with her through the parks she had helped design. She showed him how to see the city differently, not as real estate and revenue, streams, but as living ecosystems where people and nature could coexist. She never asked him for anything, never leveraged his name or his resources. She loved him, she said one evening as they watched the sunset from a hidden beach, because he made her feel seen, not as a means to an end, but as a person worth knowing. He had bought an engagement ring during a business trip to New York, a simple diamond on a platinum band, elegant and understated, exactly like Harper herself. He had planned to propose on her birthday, during a weekend trip to the mountains she had been talking about for weeks, but then his father had insisted he fly to Tokyo for an urgent acquisition negotiation. The deal could not wait, Preston had said. The future of the company depended on Callum's personal involvement. It would only be 10 days. Harper would understand. Callum had gone to Tokyo. He had closed the deal, and when he returned to Silver Crest, Harper was gone. Her apartment, the small third-floor walk-up in the Arts District, had been completely emptied. The landlord said she had paid through the end of the month and left no forwarding address. Her phone number led to a disconnected message. The landscape firm where she had worked part-time said she had resigned via email, effective immediately. All that remained was a letter, handwritten on the cream-colored stationery she favored, left on the kitchen counter of his penthouse where she had stayed the night before his departure. Callum, I have accepted a position with a firm in Portland that I cannot pass up. This opportunity will allow me to do the work I have always dreamed of, and I need to take it. Our time together has been wonderful, but I think we both know our worlds were never truly compatible. You belong to Silver Crest and the legacy your family has built. I belong somewhere I can create without the weight of expectations I was not born to carry. Please do not try to find me. This is what I need. I hope you understand and that you find happiness with someone who fits the life you are meant to live. With gratitude for what we shared, Harper. He had read those lines until the paper grew soft with handling. He had hired investigators who found nothing. No employment records in Portland or anywhere else. No credit card transactions. No apartment leases. Harper Quinn had vanished as completely as if she had never existed. In the months that followed, Callum had cycled through denial, anger, bargaining, and a depression that manifested as relentless work. His father had been surprisingly sympathetic, encouraging him to channel his energy into the business. Time would heal the wound, Preston assured him. He would meet someone more appropriate, someone who understood the demands of their world. Callum had thrown himself into expansion projects and product launches. He had attended the expected social events, dated occasionally when pressed, and learned to smile at the right moments. But he never stopped searching faces in crowds, never stopped hoping that one day he would turn a corner and find her there, ready to explain why she had left. 12 years later, he still carried the engagement ring in his desk drawer. Still pulled it out on nights when the silence of his penthouse felt too heavy to bear. Still wondered what he had done wrong, what he had failed to give her, what he had missed. His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom, pulling him back to the present. Mr. Grayson, your father is here for the 3:30 meeting. Callum straightened his tie and turned from the window, his expression settling into the professional mask he wore like a second skin. Send him in, Claudia. Preston Grayson entered with the bearing of a man accustomed to command. At 72, he remained formidable, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, his presence filling the room with unspoken authority. He had built Grayson Global from a small consulting firm into a multinational corporation, and though he had officially retired 5 years ago, everyone knew he still pulled strings from his estate overlooking the northern cliffs. The Vancouver partnership is moving forward. Preston settled into the leather chair across from Callum's desk. Their board approved our terms this morning. Good. Callum's tone was measured, revealing nothing. I will have Mitchell finalize the contracts. You should go to Vancouver yourself. FaceTime matters in these transitions. Mitchell has managed the relationship from the beginning. He can handle it. Preston's gaze sharpened. This needs the CEO's presence, Callum. You have been delegating too much lately. Something in his father's voice, that particular shade of certainty, triggered a memory. This was the same tone Preston had used 12 years ago when insisting that the Tokyo trip could not be postponed, that Callum's presence was essential, that 4 months of romance should not interfere with generational responsibility. Callum had gone to Tokyo, and when he returned, Harper was gone. I will handle Vancouver remotely. His voice carried a finality that ended the discussion. After his father left, Callum stood at the window again, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. Somewhere beyond that burning edge, in some city or town he could not name, Harper Quinn existed. She breathed and worked and perhaps loved someone new. The thought should have brought acceptance after 12 years. It never did. What Callum did not know, could not know, was that at this exact moment, 200 miles up the coast, Harper Quinn was sitting in a small office, reviewing plans for a memorial garden, trying to focus on measurements and plant selections instead of the phone call she had received that morning. The call from Silvercrest General Hospital, informing her that June Castellano, the woman who had been more mother to her than employer or friend, had passed away peacefully in her sleep. June, who had given Harper her first real job in landscape design. June, who had asked no questions when Harper appeared in her tiny Northern California town. 12 years ago, 7 months pregnant and running from a past she could not explain. June, who had held Asher and Willow in the hospital when they were born, and declared them the most beautiful children she had ever seen. The funeral would be in Silver Crest, the caller said. June had left specific instructions. She wanted to be buried in the city where she had spent her youth, in the cemetery overlooking the harbor. Harper had not set foot in Silver Crest since the day she left. She had built a careful life in the small coastal town of Fernwood, 200 miles north, where nobody knew the Grayson name or cared about technology empires and family legacies. She designed parks and community gardens, raised her twins in a modest house 3 blocks from the beach, and told herself she had made the right choice every time doubt crept in during the quiet hours before dawn. But she owed June everything. The job that had kept them afloat, the friendship that had sustained her through the hardest years, the unconditional acceptance that had allowed Harper to believe she was more than, the mistakes and fears that had driven her away from the only man she ever loved. She would go to Silver Crest. She would pay her respects. She would leave before anyone from her old life noticed her return. It was a solid plan. Practical. Safe. Harper had no way of knowing that fate had very different intentions, that the cemetery where June would be laid to rest was the same cemetery where the Grayson family plot stood, that Callum visited his mother's grave there every few months, seeking solace in the only place his public persona was not required. She had no way of knowing that in 5 days on a rain-soaked November afternoon, 2 paths that had diverged 12 years ago would collide with the force of everything left unspoken and unresolved. All she knew was that she had to go back, and that she would bring Asher and Willow with her, because leaving them behind felt more dangerous than the slim possibility of an encounter she had spent 12 years avoiding. That night, after the twins were asleep in their shared room, Harper stood in her kitchen holding a mug of tea she had forgotten to drink. The apartment around her was small but warm, filled with the twins' artwork and science projects, proof of the life she had built from fear and determination. She pulled out her laptop and opened the file she had not touched in months, a document titled Someday, filled with fragments of the letter she had written and rewritten 1,000 times. The letter she could never send. Dear Callum, there is so much you do not know, so much I could not tell you because the telling would have destroyed everything. Your father came to me the day after you left for Tokyo. He knew I was pregnant. I do not know how, but he knew, and he made it very clear what would happen if I did not disappear. He said you had a future that required a certain kind of partner, that I was a complication that would derail everything you had worked for, that if I truly loved you, I would leave quietly and let you build the life you were meant for. He offered money. So much money, Callum, enough to raise a child comfortably, to start over somewhere far away, but it was not the money that made me leave. It was the other thing he said, the thing I could not fight. He told me he would pursue full custody, that he had lawyers who could prove I was unfit, that I had no family, no resources, no standing to fight the Grayson name in court. He said I could leave with enough money to build a life, or I could stay and watch my child be taken from me piece by piece. I was 24 and terrified and pregnant with twins I did not even know about yet. I believed him. I believed I had no choice. So, I left. I wrote you a lie, and I disappeared. And every day since, I have wondered if I made the right choice, if you would have fought for us, if we could have won. But I look at Asher and Willow, and I know that even if I made the wrong choice, it gave me them. And I cannot regret that. I am sorry, Callum, for the years you lost, for the family you never knew you had, for every birthday and first day of school and bedtime story you missed. I am sorry. Harper, she had never sent it. Never would. What purpose would it serve except to reopen wounds that had surely scarred over by now? Callum had moved on. He had to have. Men like him did not spend 12 years pining for women who left without explanation. She closed the laptop and carried her cold tea to the sink. Outside, the ocean whispered its eternal rhythm against the shore. Inside, 2 children slept, unaware that in less than a week, their understanding of their own story would change forever. Harper climbed into bed and lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to prepare herself for a return she had never planned to make. In his penthouse across the miles, Callum Grayson lay awake as well, the engagement ring open on his bedside table, catching moonlight like a question that refused to be answered. Neither of them slept well that night. Neither of them knew that the waiting was almost over. The morning Harper and the twins left for Silver Crest dawned cold and bright, the kind of November day where the sky stretched endlessly blue and the air smelled of salt and coming winter. Asher and Willow buzzed with excitement about the road trip, their young minds not yet grasping the weight their mother carried. They loaded the car with a small suitcase and the carefully wrapped remembrance flowers Harper had chosen for June's service. She had explained to the twins that they were going to say goodbye to someone, very important, someone who had helped their family when they needed it most. "Are we going to meet anyone you knew before?" Willow asked from the back seat as they merged onto the coastal highway. Her daughter's intuition, always sharp, picked up on the tension Harper tried to hide. "Maybe." Harper kept her eyes on the road. "It is a small city, but we are only there for 2 days. Just long enough to honor Miss June. Did you like living there?" Asher, ever practical, studied the passing landscape with the same careful attention he brought to everything. "I did. For a while." Harper's throat tightened. "It is where I met some very important people." "Like our dad?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Harper's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She had always been honest with the twins, as honest as she could be without revealing the full complexity of their origin. "Yes, like your dad." "Will he be there?" "I do not know, sweetheart. It is a big city. We probably will not see him." The lie tasted bitter. Silver Crest was not big. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, especially if your last name was Grayson. But the odds of actually encountering Callum in the span of 48 hours seemed mercifully small. They drove in comfortable silence for a while, the twins eventually pulling out books and tablets. Harper let her mind drift to the careful plans she had made. Check into the small hotel on the south side, far from the downtown corridor where Grayson Global dominated the skyline. Attend the funeral service. Visit the cemetery. Leave before dark. Be back on the road to Fernwood by Sunday morning. Simple. Controlled. Safe. They reached Silver Crest just after noon. The city rose from the coastline in layers. Industrial harbor, giving way to commercial. Districts, and then climbing into residential hills dotted with old growth trees. It had grown in the 12 years since Harper left, new construction everywhere, but the bones remained familiar. She drove past streets she had once walked with Callum, parks she had helped design in those early hopeful days before everything collapsed. Each landmark triggered memories she had worked hard to file away. His laugh, his hand warm against hers, the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. "Mom, are you okay?" Willow's small hand touched her shoulder from the back seat. Harper blinked away the threat of tears and manufactured a smile. "I am fine, baby. Just remembering old times." The hotel was modest and clean, tucked away from the main tourist areas. They checked in quickly, and Harper let the twins explore the room while she stood at the window, looking out over a city she had once tried to call home. Tomorrow, she would face the cemetery and the memories. Tonight, she would simply keep her children close and try not to think about emerald green eyes and a future that had been stolen before it could begin. Across the city, Callum sat through an interminable board meeting, his mind only half present as executives presented quarterly projections. When it finally ended, he escaped to his office and stood at the windows, restless in a way he could not name. Claudia knocked softly before entering. "Your father called. He wanted to remind you about the charity dinner on Saturday. Tell him I will be there." She hesitated. "Are you all right, Mr. Grayson? You have seemed distracted lately." Callum managed a practiced smile. "Just tired, Claudia. Nothing to worry about." After she left, he pulled open his desk drawer and looked at the velvet ring box for a long moment. Then he closed the drawer firmly and gathered his things. He had promised himself he would visit his mother's grave this weekend. Grace Grayson had passed away 8 years ago, and he still found solace in the quiet cemetery overlooking the harbor. It was one of the few places he could go and simply be Callum, not the CEO, not the golden son, just a man trying to make sense of a life that never quite fit. He did not know that tomorrow afternoon, while he stood at his mother's headstone, Harper Quinn would be standing 30 yards away at June Castellano's fresh grave. He did not know that 2 children with his eyes would be holding their mother's hands, trying to understand why she kept crying. He did not know that in less than 24 hours, every question he had, carried for 12 years, would be answered in a single shattering moment. Friday dawned gray and misty. Harper woke early, the weight of the day already pressing on her chest. She dressed in a simple black dress and helped the twins into their nicest clothes, fielding their questions about funerals and why people cried when they said goodbye. The service at Silvercrest Community Chapel was small and lovely. June had not had much family, but the people whose lives she had touched showed up in numbers that made Harper's heart ache. Former clients whose gardens still bloomed with June's careful designs. Neighbors who remembered her kindness. And Harper, who owed her everything. The minister spoke of a life well lived, of generosity and quiet grace. Harper held Asher's and Willow's hands and let tears slip silently down her cheeks. After the service, a small procession made its way to Harborview Cemetery. The grounds stretched across a hillside overlooking the gray-blue expanse of the bay, old oaks and maples providing shelter from the drizzle that had begun to fall. June's plot was in the newer section, modest and peaceful. As the final prayers were said and the casket lowered, Harper felt the finality of it settle into her bones. The last connection to her Silver Crest life, the one person who had known her before and after, was gone. When the service concluded, most attendees drifted away to their cars. Harper remained, the twins patient beside her as she knelt and placed the flowers she had brought. "Thank you." She whispered the words to the freshly turned earth. "For everything. For giving me a chance when I had nothing. For never asking questions I could not answer. For loving my children. Thank you, June." Asher and Willow each placed a small stone they had found on the beach. A ritual Harper had taught them for remembering people who mattered. As they stood to leave, Willow tugged on Harper's sleeve. "Mom, who is that man?" Harper looked up, following her daughter's gaze across the cemetery paths. And time stopped. 30 yards away, moving between headstones with a bouquet of white roses, was Callum Grayson. He had not seen her yet. His attention was focused on navigating the narrow path, his dark coat beaded with rain. He looked older. The boy she had loved matured into a man with broader shoulders and deeper lines around his eyes. But he was unmistakably, heartbreakingly Callum. Harper's first instinct was to run, to grab the twins and disappear into the maze of monuments before he looked up. But her feet would not move. 12 years of wondering, of rehearsing what she would say if she ever saw him again, rooted her to the spot. And then, as if feeling the weight of her stare, Callum looked up. Their eyes met across the distance. She saw the exact moment recognition hit. The way his expression shifted from polite neutrality to confusion to shock. The bouquet slipped from his hand, roses scattering across wet grass. Harper, her name on his lips, barely audible, but she heard it as clearly as if he had shouted. Asher pressed closer to her side. "Mom, who is that?" But Harper could not answer, could not speak, could only watch as Callum took one step toward them, then another, his gaze moving from her face to the children beside her. She saw the moment his eyes registered Asher's features, the strong Grayson jawline, the serious expression, then Willow's face, softer but undeniable in its resemblance. His eyes. They both had his eyes. Callum stopped walking. His hand came up to his chest as if to steady a heart that had forgotten how to beat properly. Oh my God. The words were so quiet, Harper almost missed them. Willow, with a child's fearless curiosity, stepped forward slightly. "Are you the man from Mom's old pictures?" Harper's breath caught. She had not realized Willow had found the single photograph she kept hidden in her jewelry box. The one photo she could not bring herself to destroy. Callum and Harper on a beach at sunset, his arms around her, both of them laughing at something long forgotten. Callum lowered himself slowly to one knee, his focus entirely on the twins now. His voice, when he spoke, trembled with barely controlled emotion. "What are your names?" "I am Asher." The boy spoke with his characteristic directness. "This is my sister Willow. We are 11. 11. Callum repeated the word as if testing its weight. His gaze lifted to Harper, and she saw 12 years of questions crystallize into terrible understanding. Harper. The way he said her name this time was different. Raw. Demanding. She stepped forward, her own voice breaking. "Callum, I can explain." "Can you?" He rose slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "Can you explain why I have been searching for you for 12 years? Why I thought I had done something so terrible you could not even tell me goodbye to my face? Can you explain why I am looking at 2 children who have my eyes and you never told me they existed?" Each question landed like a physical blow. Harper wrapped her arms around herself, trying to hold together against the storm of his pain and her guilt. "Your father." The words came out as barely more than a whisper. "Your father threatened me. He knew I was pregnant, and he said if I did not leave, he would take them from me. He said I was not good enough for you, that I would ruin your future, that he had lawyers who would prove I was unfit. I was 24 and terrified, and I believed him. Callum went very still. When he spoke again, his voice was dangerously quiet. My father knew. Yes, and you believed him, that I would let that happen, that I would not fight for you. I did not know what you would do. Tears streamed freely down Harper's face now. I only knew what he promised he would do, and I could not risk it. I could not risk losing them before they were even born. The children watched silently, picking up on the enormity of what was unfolding even if they did not fully understand it. Callum looked at them again, really looked, and Harper saw his expression crack. The professional mask, the controlled CEO demeanor, all of it fell away, leaving only naked grief. I have children. His voice broke completely. I have a son and a daughter, and I have missed 11 years of their lives. I am sorry. Harper could barely get the words out through her crying. I am so sorry, Callum. I thought I was protecting everyone. I thought it was the only choice I had. He took a step toward her, close enough now that she could see the tears gathering in his eyes. You should have trusted me. You should have told me and let me decide if I was willing to fight. You took that choice away from both of us. I know. Harper's legs felt weak. I know. And I have regretted it every single day. For a long moment, they simply stood there in the rain. 12 years of silence and separation between them. 2 children who represented everything they had lost, standing as living proof that some things could not be undone. Then Callum did something Harper did not expect. He turned to Asher and Willow and lowered himself to their level once more. I am your father. His voice was gentle now, stripped of anger. I did not know about you. If I had, I would have been there from the very beginning. I would have been there for every birthday, every first day of school, every moment your mom needed help. I would have been there. Asher studied him with serious eyes. Mom says you are a good man who lives far away. I do not want to live far away anymore. Callum's gaze held steady. If you and your sister will let me, I would like to be part of your lives now. I cannot get back the years I missed, but I can be here for every day that comes after this one. Willow reached out and touched his hand tentatively. Do you promise? Callum wrapped his fingers gently around hers. I promise. Harper watched through her tears as her children, the secret she had guarded so carefully for so long, met their father in a rain-soaked cemetery. She watched as Callum pulled them both into a careful embrace, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs, and she understood that nothing would ever be the same. The life she had built in Fernwood, the careful distance she had maintained, the story. She had told herself about doing the right thing. All of it was about to change. When Callum finally released the twins and stood, his eyes found Harper's again. This time the anger had been replaced by something more complex. Pain, yes, but also determination. We need to talk. Properly. About everything. Harper nodded, unable to speak. Are you staying in the city? Until tomorrow. We were going to leave in the morning. No. The word was firm but not unkind. Do not leave. Not yet. Please. Give me time to understand what happened. Give them time to know me. Just a few days. Please, Harper. She looked at him, this man she had loved so completely and left so devastatingly. She saw the same person she had fallen for 12 years ago, but tempered by time and loss. She saw the father he was already trying to become. Okay. The word came out small but certain. We will stay. Relief flooded his features. Thank you. Where are you? The Bayview Inn. I will come by tomorrow morning. We can talk while the kids are rested. Figure out how to do this. Okay. They stood in awkward silence for a moment, the enormity of what had just happened settling over all of them. Then Asher, with a child's ability to cut through complexity, asked the question that mattered most. So, you are really our dad? For real? Callum smiled through his tears. For real, buddy. I am really your dad. Cool. Asher nodded seriously. I have a lot of questions about engineering. Mom is not very good at explaining gear ratios. Despite everything, Callum laughed. A real laugh that carried echoes of the man Harper remembered. I can help with that. As the rain began to fall harder, they made their way toward the cemetery gates together. Not quite a family. Not yet. But something beginning to form from the broken pieces of what had been lost. Harper glanced back once at June's grave and silently thanked the woman who had brought her to Silvercrest one last time. For this reunion she had feared and avoided. This moment that terrified and healed her in equal measure. Callum walked beside her, the twins between them, already chattering about schools and favorite subjects and whether he liked soccer or baseball better. And Harper realized that the careful life she had built was about to be dismantled. But maybe, just maybe, what would be built in its place would be the life she had always wanted, but had been too afraid to fight for. They reached the parking area and stood beside Harper's modest sedan. Callum looked at the out-of-state plates and something flickered across his face. "Where have you been all this time?" "Fernwood, a little town up the coast." Harper wrapped her arms around herself against the chill. "It is quiet, safe, good schools." He nodded slowly. "Processing. And you have been there since you left?" "Yes, alone. Raising them alone." "Yes." His jaw clenched, but he said nothing. The implications hung heavy between them. "I should let you get them back to the hotel. Get warm and dry." Callum pulled out his phone. "Can I have your number? So I can text you tomorrow before I come by?" Harper rattled off the digits, watching him enter them with hands that trembled slightly. When he finished, he looked at the twins. "I will see you tomorrow, okay? We can have breakfast and talk about all those engineering questions." Asher grinned. "Do you know about robotics?" "I know a little." Callum's smile was genuine. "I might even know some people who build them for a living. Can I come to your work sometime?" The question was innocent, but it hit Callum visibly. The idea that his son wanted to spend time with him, wanted to see his world, wanted to be part of his life. "Absolutely, any time you want." After they drove away, Callum stood in the parking lot for a long time, rain soaking through his expensive coat. He had come to the cemetery to visit his mother's grave, to seek the quiet solace he always found there. Instead, he had found the answer to 12 years of questions. And the answer was more complicated and painful than he ever imagined. He pulled out his phone and stared at Harper's contact information. Then he scrolled to another name. Preston Grayson. His father had known, had threatened a pregnant woman, had orchestrated Harper's disappearance and let Callum suffer for over a decade believing he had been abandoned. Rage, white-hot and controlled, flooded through him. But he did not call. Not yet. First, he needed to understand the full scope of what had happened. Needed to hear Harper's complete story. Needed to make sure his children, felt safe and wanted. Then he would deal with his father. Callum climbed into his car and sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, letting the reality wash over him. He was a father to 11-year-old twins he had never known existed. Children who had grown up without him because his own father had decided they were not worthy of the Grayson name. The life he had been living, the careful construction of success and solitude, suddenly felt like a cruel joke. He had everything except the only things that mattered. He thought of the engagement ring still sitting in his desk drawer. The question he had wanted to ask Harper 12 years ago. And he wondered if it was possible to reclaim something that had been so thoroughly destroyed. Only one way to find out. He started the engine and drove toward his penthouse, already planning what he would say tomorrow when he sat down with Harper and demanded the full truth. Already imagining the conversation he would have with his father once he knew everything. Already beginning to understand that the next days and weeks would require a kind of strength he had never needed before. Not the strength to close deals or lead a company, but the strength to forgive, to rebuild, to become the father he had been denied the chance to be. The rain followed him through the city, washing clean the streets where he and Harper had once walked. Hand in hand, dreaming of a future neither of them could have predicted would be stolen so cruelly. But he was done letting other people write his story. Starting tomorrow, he would fight for what should have been his all along. At the Bayview Inn, Harper helped the twins out of their damp clothes and into warm pajamas, then ordered room service for an early dinner. They ate pizza cross-legged on the beds, and she fielded endless questions about the man they had met in the cemetery. "Is he nice?" Willow asked, picking pepperoni off her slice. "He's very nice." Harper's voice was soft. "He is kind and smart, and he would have loved you both from the moment you were born if he had known about you." Why did we not know about him? Asher, ever logical, needed facts. Harper set down her own barely touched slice and gathered her thoughts. She had always known this conversation would come someday. She just had not expected it to arrive in a hotel room in Silver Crest. "When I found out I was going to have you," she began carefully, "someone told me that it would be better if I went away. They said your dad had an important life and that we would make things complicated for him. I was young and scared, and I believed them. So I left, and I did not tell him I was pregnant. I thought I was protecting all of us. But now I understand I should have trusted him more. I should have given him the choice. Did he want us? Willow's eyes were wide and worried. Oh, sweetheart. Harper pulled her daughter close. He did not know to want you. But the moment he saw you today, I could see how much he already loves you. Did you see how he looked at you both? Willow nodded against her mother's shoulder. Asher was quiet for a moment, processing. Are we going to live with him now? I do not know what is going to happen. Harper was honest. We have our home in Fernwood, your school, and your friends. But your dad lives here in Silver Crest. We are going to have to figure out how to make this work. It will not be simple, but I promise you, whatever we decide, it will be what is best for you two. Okay? Both children nodded, seemingly satisfied for now. After dinner, Harper got them settled in the second bed and turned off the lights, but sleep did not come easily. She lay awake listening to their breathing, thinking about the look on Callum's face when he realized they were his. The devastation, the wonder, the barely contained fury at what had been taken from him. She had spent 12 years justifying her choice, telling herself she had done the only thing possible under impossible circumstances. But seeing Callum with Asher and Willow today, seeing how naturally he had knelt to their level and spoken to them with such gentle certainty, she understood with painful clarity that she had underestimated him. He would have fought. He would have stood against his father and the entire weight of the Grayson Empire if it meant keeping his family together. And she had not given him that chance. The guilt was crushing. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from an unknown number. This is Callum. I just wanted to say thank you for staying, for giving me a chance to know them. I know this is complicated and painful, but I meant what I said today. I am not going anywhere. Sleep well, Harper. She stared at the message for a long time before typing a response. I am sorry for everything I took from you. I know sorry does not cover it, but I need you to know I never stopped thinking about you, never stopped wondering if I made the right choice. And seeing you with them today, I have my answer. I should have trusted you. I should have fought. I am sorry. His reply came quickly. We will figure this out. Together. That is all that matters now. Good night. Harper set the phone down and closed her eyes, letting tears slide silently into her pillow. Tomorrow would bring more difficult conversations, more painful truths, the beginning of a reckoning she had spent 12 years avoiding. But for tonight, she let herself feel the smallest spark of hope, that maybe, against all odds, the love she had run from might still be strong enough to survive what had been done to it. That maybe Callum Grayson was exactly the kind of man who could forgive the unforgivable. And that maybe, just maybe, their story was not over after all. Morning arrived too quickly, and with it the knock Harper had been both dreading and anticipating. She checked the peephole to see Callum standing in the hallway holding a carrier with coffee cups and a bag that smelled of fresh pastries. She opened the door. Good morning. His voice was carefully neutral, but his eyes searched hers for clues about how to navigate this impossible situation. Good morning. Come in. The twins were already dressed and planted in front of the small television, but they jumped up when Callum entered. You came back. Willow's delight was uncomplicated, beautiful. I promised I would. Callum set down the coffee and pastries on the small table. I brought breakfast. I was not sure what you liked, so I got a little of everything. For the next hour they sat together in the cramped hotel room, eating cinnamon rolls and Danish pastries while Asher peppered Callum with questions about robotics, space exploration, and whether he had ever met anyone who worked for NASA. Callum answered each one with patience and genuine interest, and Harper watched her son fall a little bit in love with the father he was just beginning to know. Willow was quieter, more observing, but Harper caught her sneaking glances at Callum, comparing features, looking for herself in this stranger who was somehow family. Eventually, Callum suggested a walk. There is a park near here with a good playground. Maybe we could all get some fresh air. The twins agreed enthusiastically, and soon they were bundled in jackets and walking through Silver Crest's waterfront district. The morning was clear and cold, last night's rain leaving everything washed clean and bright. Callum fell into step beside Harper while the twins ran ahead, racing toward the playground equipment. How are you doing? He asked quietly. Really? Harper watched Asher and Willow climb the jungle gym, terrified, relieved, guilty, all of it at once. I understand that. He paused. I did not sleep much last night. I kept thinking about all the things I missed. First steps, first words, first days of school. Harper's throat tightened. Asher walked at 10 months. Willow was slower, almost 13 months. But once she started, she never stopped. Their first words were both mama, which seemed unfair since I was the only parent around. First day of kindergarten, Asher marched right in like he owned the place. Willow cried and held onto my leg for 20 minutes. Tell me more. Callum's voice was hungry. Tell me everything. So she did. As they walked slowly around the park's perimeter, Harper filled in 12 years in broad strokes and tiny details. The struggles of early motherhood alone. The way June had stepped in like a grandmother when Harper had no family. The twins' personalities emerging. Asher's love of taking things apart and putting them back together. Willow's artistic soul that saw beauty in everything. Callum listened without interrupting, absorbing every word like a man dying of thirst. When she finally fell silent, he asked the question she had been expecting. Why did you really leave, Harper? I need to understand exactly what my father said to you. They sat on a bench overlooking the playground. Harper took a deep breath and told him everything. She described the morning 2 days after he left for Tokyo. The unexpected knock on her apartment door. Preston Grayson standing there in his expensive suit, his expression cold and certain. Miss Quinn, we need to talk about your situation. She had invited him in, confused about why Callum's father would visit unannounced. I know you are pregnant. Preston had not bothered with pleasantries. I have resources that keep me informed about potential complications to my family's interests. Harper's blood had run cold. She had only just confirmed the pregnancy herself, had not even told Callum yet. I am offering you a choice. You can accept a generous financial settlement and relocate far from Silvercrest, or you can stay and watch me systematically destroy any chance you have of keeping that child. I have lawyers who will prove you are unstable, unsuited for motherhood. I will tie you up in custody battles until you have nothing left. The child will be raised as a Grayson, and you will have supervised visitation if you are lucky. But Callum, Harper had stammered, he would never let you do that. Preston's smile had been pitying. My son will do what is necessary for the family legacy once he understands the stakes. He is groomed for great things, Miss Quinn. You are a momentary distraction. If you care for him at all, you will spare him the mess of an unwanted pregnancy with someone of your background. The words had been delivered with such calm certainty that Harper had believed every one. How much time do I have? She had heard herself ask. The end of the week. He had placed an envelope on her counter. This is enough to start over comfortably. Raise the child well away from here. If you contact Callum or anyone in this family after you leave, the offer is void, and I proceed with option 2. Then he had left, and Harper had spent 3 days terrified and alone before finally packing her, single suitcase, and writing the letter that would break both their hearts. Now, on the park bench, she finished the story and waited for Callum's reaction. He sat very still, his hands clenched into fists on his knees. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and dangerous. He threatened to take our children before they were even born. Yes. And you believed him, that I would stand by and let that happen. Harper turned to face him fully. Callum, your father is one of the most powerful men on the West Coast. I was 24 with no family, no money, no resources. I had met you 4 months earlier. I did not know if you would believe me over him. I did not know if you would think I was trying to trap you. I did not know anything except that I was pregnant and terrified and being threatened by someone who had the power to do exactly what he promised. Callum closed his eyes, pain etched in every line of his face. I would have believed you. I would have fought him. I would have torn down everything I had built if it meant keeping you and our children safe. I know that now. Harper's voice broke, but I did not know it then. And I am sorry. I am so sorry. They sat in silence, the sounds of the playground filling the space between them. Asher's laughter as he swung higher. Willow calling for them to watch her climb to the top of the slide. Finally, Callum spoke again. I need to confront him. My father needs to answer for what he did. I know. But first, I need to know something. He turned to look at her directly. Is there any part of you that still feels what we felt 12 years ago? Or did time kill that completely? Harper's breath caught. She had not expected the question. Not now. Not like this. I never stopped loving you. The truth came out quiet but certain. Not one single day. I told myself I had moved on, that I was fine alone. But every time Asher smiled like you or Willow got that stubborn look in her eyes that is pure Grayson, I thought about you, about what we could have been. Something shifted in Callum's expression, the pain easing slightly, replaced by a fragile hope. I never stopped either. I dated. People tried to set me up constantly, but no one ever came close to what I felt with you. Before Harper could respond, Willow called out again. Dad, come push me on the swing. The word hit them both. Dad, said so naturally, as if she had been calling him that her whole life. Callum stood, his eyes bright with unshed tears. I will be right back. Harper watched him jog toward the swings, watched him carefully push Willow higher, while she shrieked with delight. Watched Asher join them, demanding equal time. And she understood that whatever came next, whether forgiveness was possible or if the damage was too deep, those two children deserved to know their father, deserved to have him in their lives in whatever capacity could be managed. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Miss Quinn, this is Preston Grayson. I understand you are back in Silver Crest. We should talk. Today. My office at 2 p.m. Come alone. Harper stared at the text message, her heart rate spiking. Preston Grayson wanted to meet. The man who had destroyed her life 12 years ago was summoning her like she was still that terrified 24-year-old with no power and no options. But she was not that person anymore. She looked up to see Callum still at the playground, now helping Asher across the monkey bars while Willow timed him with a stick she was pretending was a stopwatch. The three of them together looked so natural, so right, that it made her chest ache. Her phone buzzed again. I assume you want what is best for those children. 2 p.m. Do not be late. The implicit threat was clear. Harper's hands shook as she typed a response. I will be there. She would go. But this time, she would not go alone and afraid. This time, she had something to fight for beyond her own survival. When Callum returned with the twins, both children pink-cheeked and happy from the cold air and exercise, Harper pulled him aside while they collected fall leaves. Your father texted me. He wants to meet this afternoon. Callum's expression darkened immediately. Absolutely not. You are not going anywhere near him alone. I have to. If I do not show up, he will escalate. You know how he operates. Then I am coming with you. No. Harper's voice was firm. He said to come alone, and I need to face him. I need to tell him that I am not afraid anymore, that he does not get to control my life or my children's lives ever again. Callum looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. What time? 2. I will be waiting outside. If you are not out in 30 minutes, I am coming in. Harper nodded, grateful for his protection, even as she needed to do this herself. They spent the rest of the morning together. Callum took them to lunch at a family restaurant where Asher ordered a burger bigger. Then his head and Willow got chocolate chip pancakes even though it was noon. They talked about school and hobbies, and Callum shared stories about his own childhood, carefully editing out the parts that involved his father's controlling nature. At 1:30, Harper left the twins with Callum at the restaurant. She promised to be back soon and tried not to see the worry in Willow's eyes. You are coming back, right, Mom? The question broke her heart. Of course, baby. I promise. I just have to take care of some grown-up business. Callum walked her to her car. You do not owe him anything, Harper. Not explanations, not justifications, nothing. He is the one who should be begging for your forgiveness. I know. But I need to look him in the eye and tell him he lost. That despite everything he did, we found our way back. To look him in the eye and tell him he lost. That despite everything he did, we found our way back. That his cruelty failed. Callum pulled her into a brief, fierce hug. You are the strongest person I know. You raised 2 incredible humans alone while I was sitting in my office feeling sorry for myself. Do not let him make you feel small. The hug lasted a moment longer than necessary, and when they pulled apart, Harper saw something in Callum's eyes that looked like the beginning of forgiveness. She drove to Grayson Global headquarters with her stomach in knots. The building loomed over the waterfront, all glass and steel and money. She had only been inside once, 12 years ago, when Callum had given her a tour after hours, showing her his office and talking about the projects he was excited about. Now she entered through the grand lobby and approached the reception desk. Harper Quinn to see Preston Grayson. I have a 2 o'clock appointment." The receptionist, a polished woman in her 30s, made a call and then directed Harper to the executive elevators. "Top floor. Someone will meet you." The elevator ride felt endless. Harper used the mirrored walls to check her reflection, making sure she looked composed and strong. She wore simple black pants and a cream sweater, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She wanted to look like the adult she had become, not the girl he had intimidated. The elevator opened onto a hushed executive floor. A severe-looking assistant waited. "Miss Quinn, this way, please." She was led through a corridor lined with awards and photographs of Preston. Grayson shaking hands with politicians, celebrities, tech pioneers. A visual resume of power and influence. The assistant opened a heavy wooden door. "Mr. Grayson will see you now." Harper stepped into an office that was all dark wood and leather, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, and behind a massive desk sat Preston Grayson. He looked older than she remembered. His hair had gone completely silver, his face more lined, but his eyes were the same. Sharp, calculating, cold. "Miss Quinn." He did not stand or offer his hand. "Sit." Harper sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk, keeping her spine straight, her expression neutral. "You wanted to see me." Preston steepled his fingers, studying her like a specimen under glass. "I understand you have been reacquainted with my son, and that you brought children with you. Children you claim are his." "Claim?" Harper's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "There is no claim, Mr. Grayson. Asher and Willow are Callum's children. That is a fact. So you say, do you have DNA tests? Birth certificates listing him as the father?" Harper had known this would come. She had 11 years of documentation showing her as a single mother. No father listed. "The birth certificates list me as their mother and no father, because I was alone when they were born. Alone because you threatened me into leaving. I offered you a generous settlement to avoid complications. You accepted and left. That was your choice. You gave me an ultimatum. Money in exile or a custody battle. I had no resources to fight. That is not a choice. That is extortion." Preston's expression did not change. "I protected my son from a distraction that would have derailed his future. Everything Callum has achieved, the company he runs, the influence he wields, all of it happened because he was not burdened with an inappropriate relationship and unwanted children." The words landed like slaps, but Harper held her ground. "Unwanted? Have you seen Callum with them? Have you seen how he looks at his children? Callum is emotional and impulsive. He always has been. That is why he needs guidance. He is 38 years old and one of the most successful CEOs in the industry. He does not need your guidance. He needs you to stop manipulating his life." Preston leaned back in his chair, his tone shifting slightly. "Let us be practical, Miss Quinn. You have raised these children for 11 years on your own. You have established a life far from here. Callum has responsibilities that require his constant attention. What exactly do you think is going to happen now? That you will play happy family and everything will be perfect?" Harper leaned forward. "I think Callum deserves to know his children. I think Asher and Willow deserve to know their father. What that looks like practically, we will figure out. But it will be our decision, not yours. You are naive if you think this will work. Callum's life is here. Yours is wherever you have been hiding. Children need stability, not to be shuffled between two parents living different lives." The words hit closer to home than Harper wanted to admit. She had been thinking the same thing, worrying about how to make this work across 200 miles in two completely different worlds, but she refused to let Preston see her doubt. "We will make it work because we both love them. That is more than you ever gave Callum." Preston's eyes flashed, the first real emotion breaking through his controlled facade. "I gave him everything. Education, opportunity, a legacy worth billions. What did you give him? A broken heart and a decade of wondering why he was not good enough." The accusation stung because it was partially true. "I gave him two beautiful, intelligent, kind children who are better off never knowing their grandfather if this is who he is." Harper stood, done with the conversation. "I did not come here to justify myself to you. I came to tell you that I am not afraid anymore. You do not get to dictate what happens to my family. You took 12 years from us. You do not get one more day." She turned to leave. "Miss Quinn." Preston's voice stopped her at the door. She turned back. "If you pursue any kind of formal custody arrangement or try to claim financial support from the Grayson estate, I will fight you with every resource at my disposal. I will prove you are an opportunist who hid these children until Callum achieved success, then conveniently reappeared. I will make sure the courts see you as the manipulative gold digger you are." Harper felt ice slide down her spine, but she kept her voice level. "I do not want your money, Mr. Grayson. I never did. And any custody arrangement will be between Callum and me because we are their parents. You have no say in this. We will see about that. I am named in Callum's will as guardian in the event of his incapacity. I have legal standing. Then I suggest you prepare to lose. Because I have something you do not, the truth. And Callum knows what you did. He knows you threatened me. He knows you stole his children from him. Good luck maintaining control when he understands exactly what kind of man his father really is." She left before he could respond, walking quickly through the corridors and into the elevator. Only when the doors closed and she was alone did she allow herself to shake. The conversation had gone exactly as she expected. Preston Grayson had not changed. He still saw people as assets or liabilities, still believed power and money could control every outcome. But she had changed. She was not the terrified girl anymore. When Harper exited the building, she found Callum waiting on the sidewalk, leaning against his car. The twins were visible through the window, playing some kind of hand game in the back seat. Callum straightened when he saw her, reading her face immediately. What did he say? Everything you would expect. Threats, manipulation, accusations that I'm a gold digger who hid the children until you were successful. Callum's expression turned to stone. "I am going up there." "No." Harper grabbed his arm. "Not with the twins in the car. Not now. This is not the right time." "When is the right time, Harper? He threatened you 12 years ago, and he is doing it again. When do I get to tell my father exactly what I think of him?" "Soon. But right now, those two kids have just met their father. They are processing a lot. Let us not add a screaming match with their grandfather to the mix." Callum looked at the car where Asher and Willow waited, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. His shoulders dropped slightly. "You are right, but this is not over. I know." They stood for a moment in the shadow of Grayson Global, two people trying to figure out how to move forward from a past that kept reaching out to drag them back. "What do we do now?" Callum asked quietly. "We focus on them." Harper nodded toward the car. "We figure out how to be parents together, even though we have no idea what we are doing. We build something new from all the broken pieces. And us?" His eyes searched hers. "Do we figure that out too?" Harper's breath caught. "I do not know if there is an us anymore, Callum. Too much has happened. Too much time has passed. But you still love me. You said so this morning. Loving you and being able to trust you, to trust us, those are different things." Callum stepped closer, his voice low and intense. "Then let me earn your trust back. Let me prove that I'm not going anywhere, that I will fight for this family no matter what my father or anyone else tries to do." Before Harper could respond, the car door opened and Willow stuck her head out. "Are we going to stay here all day, or can we go do something fun?" Callum smiled despite the tension. "What did you have in mind, Butterfly?" Willow grinned at the nickname. "Ice cream. Definitely ice cream." They spent the rest of the afternoon at a local ice cream parlor that overlooked the bay, the twins comparing flavors and declaring each one the best they had ever tasted. Callum watched them with undisguised wonder, asking questions about their favorite things, their friends back home, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Asher wanted to be an engineer. No surprise there. Willow wanted to be an artist who also saved animals. A more complicated career path, but entirely in character. As the sun began to set and the twins started to show signs of fatigue, Callum walked them back to the hotel. In the lobby, he crouched down to their level one more time. "I had the best day with you two. Thank you for letting me be part of your lives. When do we see you again?" Asher asked. Callum looked at Harper. "That depends on your mom. We need to figure out some logistics. We leave tomorrow morning." Harper's voice was apologetic. "I have work commitments back home, and the kids have school on Monday." Disappointment flashed across Callum's face, quickly hidden. "Of course, I understand, but—" Harper hesitated, then took the leap. "Maybe you could come visit us in Fernwood next weekend? See where we live, meet some of our friends." "If you want to." Hope replaced the disappointment. "I want to. Absolutely." Willow threw her arms around his neck in a spontaneous hug. "Promise you will come?" Callum hugged her back, his voice thick with emotion. I promise, Butterfly. Wild horses could not keep me away. Asher held out his hand for a formal handshake. Callum took it seriously, then pulled his son into a hug as well. See you next weekend, buddy. After the twins headed upstairs, Callum and Harper stood in the lobby, the space between them charged with everything unspoken. Thank you. Callum's voice was quiet. For staying the extra days, for letting me meet them, for not disappearing again. I should have never disappeared the first time. No, but I understand why you did, and I am going to make sure my father understands what his interference cost all of us. Be careful, Callum. He is still powerful, still dangerous. So am I. He smiled without humor. He seems to have forgotten that I run his company now, that I have the board's confidence and the shareholders' respect. He has influence, but I have control, and I am done letting him pull the strings. What are you going to do? Confront him, remove him from any position where he can hurt this family again, and make it very clear that if he tries anything at all, I will. Burn down everything he holds dear to protect you and our children. The fierce protectiveness in his voice sent a shiver through Harper. I can fight my own battles. I know you can. You have been doing it for 12 years. But you do not have to fight alone anymore. That is what I am trying to tell you. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Harper wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this time would be different, that they could build something real and lasting from the ruins of what had been stolen. But trust was not rebuilt in a day, or even a weekend. Okay, the word came out softer than she intended. Together, Callum reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she did not, he cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. I know I have to earn your trust back. I know it will not be easy or quick. But Harper, I need you to know I never stopped believing we were supposed to be together. Even when I thought you had chosen to leave, even when I tried to move on, I never stopped believing you were the one. Tears gathered in Harper's eyes. I never stopped believing it either. That is what made leaving so hard. I did not just lose you. I lost the future we were supposed to have. Maybe we can still have it, just 12 years delayed. Before Harper could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened. My father. He wants to meet tomorrow morning, probably to threaten me into cutting ties with you. Are you going? Absolutely. It is time we had a long overdue conversation. He leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Get some rest. Text me when you get home tomorrow so I know you made it safely. I will. And Harper? He met her eyes with absolute seriousness. This is not goodbye. This is the beginning. Okay? She nodded, not trusting her voice. After he left, Harper rode the elevator up to their room in a daze. The day had been emotionally exhausting, swinging from joy at watching Callum with the twins to the confrontation, with Preston to this tentative hope that maybe, somehow, they could find their way back to each other. She found the twins already in their pajamas, courtesy of the hotel's children's turn-down service. Did you have fun today? She asked, climbing into bed between them. Dad is really nice. Willow snuggled against her mother's side. I like him a lot. Me too. Asher yawned. Do you think he really will visit us next weekend? I think he will move mountains to visit you next weekend. Good. Willow's eyes were already closing. I want him to see my room and meet Mr. Whiskers. Mr. Whiskers was their elderly cat, a stray Harper had rescued when the twins were 5. I am sure Mr. Whiskers will be very judgmental and unimpressed, as always. Both children giggled sleepily. As they drifted off, Harper lay awake thinking about the impossible logistics ahead. She lived in Fernwood, a small town where she had built a life and a career. Callum lived in Silver Crest, running a billion-dollar company. They had 2 children who needed stability and routine. How did they make this work? Her phone buzzed with a text from Callum. Already missing them. Already missing you too. Sleep well, Harper. She stared at the message for a long time before responding. Missing you too. More than I want to admit. Good night, Callum. The next morning, they packed up and checked out early. Harper wanted to be on the road before the Sunday traffic picked up. As they loaded the car, her phone rang. Callum. Good morning. I wanted to catch you before you left. We are just loading up now. I know this is last minute, but could you stop by my place before you go? There is something I want to give the kids. Harper hesitated. Going to Callum's home felt like crossing a line somehow, but the hopefulness in his voice made it impossible to refuse. Okay, text me the address. 20 minutes later, she pulled up to a modern townhouse in one of Silvercrest's nicest neighborhoods. Not ostentatious, but clearly expensive. Callum was waiting outside. He led them through a sleek, minimalist space that looked like something from an architecture magazine. Everything was clean lines and neutral colors, comfortable but impersonal. It is a little sterile, I know. He seemed embarrassed. I have never been great at the decorating thing. I like it. Asher examined everything with his engineer's eye. Very efficient use of space. Callum laughed. Thanks, buddy. Come on, I want to show you something. He led them to a spare bedroom that had been converted into an office. On the desk sat 2 wrapped packages. I did some shopping yesterday, after I left you. I hope I got it right. Asher opened his first, revealing a comprehensive robotics kit, professional grade. This is amazing. His eyes went huge. This is the RX 7000. It is like the best kit you can get. I figured if you are serious about engineering, you need the right tools. Willow unwrapped hers more slowly, revealing a set of professional art supplies. Pencils, paints, brushes, and a leather-bound sketchbook with her name embossed on the cover. It is so pretty. She ran her fingers over the smooth leather. Thank you, Dad. The word came so naturally now. Dad, like she had been saying it her whole life. Callum's voice was rough when he responded. You are welcome, Butterfly. I cannot wait to see what you create with it. While the twins explored their gifts, Callum pulled Harper aside. I have something for you too. He handed her a small velvet box. Harper's heart stopped. Callum, I cannot. It is not what you think. Open it. With shaking hands, she opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with 2 small pendants. Birthstones. Emerald for Asher, born in May. Alexandrite for Willow, born in June. I missed their births. I missed so many of their firsts. But I want you to know that from this moment forward, I am here. This is a promise. To them and to you. Harper's tears spilled over. It is beautiful. May I? She nodded, turning so he could fasten it around her neck. His fingers brushed her skin, sending electricity through her. When she turned back, they stood close enough that she could feel his breath. Callum. Harper. For a moment she thought he might kiss her. For a moment, she wanted him to. But Asher called out with a question about the robotics kit, breaking the spell. They spent another hour at Callum's place, him showing the twins his own workspace and the view from his balcony. Then, reluctantly, Harper said they really needed to get on the road. The goodbye was harder than the first one. Both twins hugged Callum tightly, extracting multiple promises about next weekend. As Harper buckled them into the car, Callum leaned against her door. Drive safe. Text me when you get home. I will. And Harper? He hesitated. This weekend, seeing you again, meeting them, it is like I can finally breathe after holding my breath for 12 years. I know what you mean. She wanted to say more, wanted to tell him that she was terrified of how easy it would be to fall back in love with him, that she was afraid of trusting this fragile, precious thing they were building, that she did not know how to protect her heart while opening it at the same time. But Asher was already asking when they would stop for lunch, and Willow was waving at Callum through the window. So Harper simply said, "See you next weekend," and pulled away from the curb. In her rearview mirror she watched Callum stand on the sidewalk, watching until her car disappeared around the corner. The drive back to Fernwood took 7 hours with stops. The twins chattered for the first half, then fell asleep in the back. Harper drove in silence, processing everything that had happened. In the span of 3 days, her entire world had shifted. The secret she had guarded for 12 years was out. Callum knew about his children, and somehow, impossibly, he seemed willing to forgive her. But Preston Grayson was still out there, still powerful, still dangerous, and he had made it clear he would not accept this family without a fight. Harper's phone buzzed with a text. Meeting with my father in 20 minutes. Wish me luck. It was from Callum. She typed back quickly. Be strong. Remember you are doing this for Asher and Willow. I believe in you. His response was immediate. That means everything. Thank you. Harper wished she could be there for the confrontation, but this was something Callum needed to do alone. She just hoped he was ready for what his father would throw at him. Across the miles, Callum sat in his car outside his father's estate, gathering his courage. He had spent the night rehearsing what he would say, how he would stand firm against the man who had controlled so much of his life. But now, facing the imposing colonial mansion, old fears threatened to surface. The little boy who had tried so hard to earn his father's approval. The young man who had measured his worth by Preston's standards. The CEO who still, even now, sought validation from the man who built the empire he now ran. No more. He got out of the car and walked to the front door. His father's housekeeper let him in with a sympathetic smile. Everyone who worked for Preston knew that conversations between father and son were often storms disguised as discussions. Callum found Preston in his study, the same room where so many of Callum's life decisions had been dissected and redirected. Callum. Preston did not look up from the papers he was reading. I expected you yesterday. I was busy, meeting my children. Now Preston looked up, his expression unreadable. About that. We need to discuss the situation. There is no situation. There is my family. And there is you staying out of my family's business. Preston set down his reading glasses with deliberate calm. Sit down, Callum. Let us be rational about this. I am done being rational. I am done letting you manipulate my life. Callum remained standing. You knew, Dad. You knew Harper was pregnant, and you threatened her. You drove away the woman I loved and stole 12 years with my children. I protected you from making a catastrophic mistake. The only mistake was trusting you, believing you had my best interests at heart. Preston stood, his voice hardening. Everything I have done has been for your benefit. The company you run, the life you have, all of it exists because I made difficult decisions. You made cruel decisions. There is a difference. She was a distraction, Callum. A landscape designer with no family, no resources, no understanding of our world. Can you honestly tell me your life would be better if you had stayed with her? If you had been trapped by an unplanned pregnancy at 26? Trapped? Callum's voice rose. Those are my children, Dad. Asher and Willow. Your grandchildren. And they are not a trap. They are the best thing that has ever happened to me. You have known them for 3 days. And in those 3 days, I have felt more alive than in the 12 years since you drove Harper away. Preston's expression darkened. Watch your tone. I am still your father. And that is the only reason I am having this conversation instead of cutting you out of my life completely. The threat landed. Preston went very still. You do not mean that. Test me. Try to threaten Harper again. Try to interfere with my custody arrangements. Try anything, and you will find out exactly how serious I am. Callum, be reasonable. Think about the optics. An illegitimate child, 2 of them, suddenly appearing. The press will have a field day. The board will have questions. Then I will answer them with the truth that I did not know about my children because someone threatened their mother into silence. Preston's jaw clenched. You would drag the family name through scandal for this woman? I would burn everything we have built to protect my family. And if you make me choose between the Grayson legacy and my children, you will lose. Father and son stared at each other across the study, years of complicated history crackling in the air between them. Finally, Preston spoke, his voice cold. I hope you know what you are doing. For the first time in my life, I do. Callum turned and walked out, not waiting for dismissal. He was done asking permission to live his own life. As he drove away from the estate, his phone rang. Harper, how did it go? She asked without preamble. I told him if he ever threatens you or the kids again, I will cut him out completely. Callum, your relationship with your father is my problem to manage. You do not have to worry about him anymore, Harper. I promise you that. She was quiet for a moment. Thank you. Thank you for calling. I needed to hear your voice. We just got home. The twins want to say goodnight. Put them on. For the next 10 minutes, Callum talked to Asher about the robotics kit and Willow, about the sketchbook, his heart full in a way it had not been for over a decade. When Harper came back on the line, her voice was soft. They are already asking when Friday will get here. Tell them their dad is counting down too. After they hung up, Callum sat in his car for a long moment, processing everything that had changed in 72 hours. He had found Harper, met his children, confronted his father, and for the first time since he could remember, he knew exactly what he was fighting for. Not shareholders, not market share, not legacy, but love. Real, messy, complicated love. and he would move heaven and earth to make it work. The week that separated Sunday from Friday stretched like an eternity. For Callum, every board meeting and investor call felt like an interruption to what actually mattered. He texted Harper and the twins constantly. Good morning messages with sunrise photos from his balcony, links to robotics articles for Asher, pictures of street art he thought Willow would appreciate. Harper found herself smiling at her phone more than she had in 12 years. The careful distance she had maintained, the walls she had built around her heart, they were crumbling with every message, every late-night phone call after the twins went to bed. On Monday evening, Callum called just to hear about their day. Asher got in trouble for taking apart the classroom pencil sharpener during math. Harper's tone was exasperated but amused. He wanted to see how the blade mechanism worked. Callum laughed. The sound warmed through the phone. That is 100% my genetics. I once disassembled my father's watch at a dinner party when I was 7. What did Preston do? Gave me a lecture about respecting other people's property, then bought me a build-your-own clock kit the next day. He was not always the way he is now, or maybe I just did not see it clearly until it cost me everything. Harper heard the pain beneath his words. You cannot change the past, Callum. We can only decide what we do now. I know, and what I want to do is be there. For soccer games and school plays and the everyday boring stuff. I want to be the dad who knows their teachers' names and their friends' names and what their favorite lunch is. You will be. Harper's voice softened. You already are. Asher talked about you in show and tell today. Said his dad runs a big company that makes things to help people. Her throat tightened with emotion. He is so proud of you. They both are. I am the one who is proud. You raised 2 incredible humans completely alone. That takes a strength I am not sure I have. You will never have to find out, because you are not alone anymore either. The silence that followed was comfortable, intimate. Harper? Yeah? When I come on Friday, can I take you to dinner? Just us? Maybe the twins could have a sleepover with a friend or something. Harper's heart skipped. Callum, I do not know if that is a good idea. We are still figuring out the parent thing. Adding romantic complications. I am not asking for complications. I am asking for a conversation, a real one, about what we both want this to look like. She wanted to say no, wanted to keep things focused on the children until they had a stable co-parenting relationship. But the truth was, she missed him, missed the easy conversations and the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. Okay, dinner. But Callum, I need you to understand, I am terrified. Of me. Of this. Of wanting something so badly that I make stupid decisions. Of getting hurt again. Of the twins getting hurt. I am terrified too. But I think we owe it to ourselves to try. Do you not? Yes. The word came out as a whisper. Yes, I think we do. They talked for another hour, the conversation drifting from serious to silly, touching, on everything from their favorite movies to whether pineapple belonged on pizza. It felt like the early days of their relationship when they had stayed, up all night just talking, discovering each other in layers. When Harper finally hung up, she found Willow standing in the hallway in her pajamas. Were you talking to Dad? Harper patted the couch beside her. I was. Come here, baby. Willow snuggled against her mother's side. Do you still love him? The question was simple, direct, very Willow. Harper considered lying, protecting her daughter from the complicated truth. But Willow deserved honesty. I do. I never stopped loving him. Is he going to live with us? I do not know, sweetheart. We are still figuring things out. I hope he does. Willow yawned. I like having a dad. Me too, baby. Me too. Across the miles, Callum stood at his balcony windows, looking out over Silver Crest's glittering skyline. For years, this view had been enough. The city he helped shape, the legacy he was building. Now it felt empty. A beautiful cage he had been living in without realizing the door was open. His phone buzzed with a text from his executive assistant. Reminder, board meeting Tuesday 9 a.m. Vancouver presentation. Quarterly reviews Wednesday. Charity gala Friday evening. He stared at the Friday notation. The charity gala. One of the biggest social events of the season. He had committed months ago. But Friday he was supposed to be in Fernwood, meeting his children's world. Having dinner with Harper. He typed a response. Cancel my appearance at the gala. Send my apologies and a donation to cover my ticket price. The response came quickly. Mr. Grayson, your father specifically requested your attendance. The Grayson name? Tell my father I have family commitments. Non-negotiable. He put the phone down and smiled. For the first time in his professional life, he was choosing personal over business. And it felt exactly right. Tuesday morning, Callum arrived at Grayson Global to find his father waiting in his office. We need to discuss Friday. Preston stood by the windows, his posture rigid. There is nothing to discuss. I have plans. The Harrington Gala is not optional, Callum. We have commitments. You have commitments. I have a family I am trying to rebuild. Preston turned, his expression cold. You are making a mistake. Choosing this woman and these children over responsibilities you have had for years. They are not this woman and these children. They are Harper and Asher and Willow. Use their names, Dad. Do not be naive. She disappeared for 12 years. What makes you think she will not do it again? The question hit harder than Callum wanted to admit. It was his fear, too, buried deep, that Harper would realize being with him was too complicated and vanish again. But he refused to let his father see the doubt. Because this time I am not letting her go without a fight. This time I know what I am fighting for. You are risking everything. Your reputation, the company's stability, shareholder confidence. I am risking nothing that matters. And if the board has a problem with me having children, they can find a new CEO. Preston's eyes widened slightly. It was the first time Callum had ever threatened to walk away from Grayson Global. You would leave the company? In a heartbeat, if it meant keeping my family. So, I suggest you make your peace with this, Dad, because Harper and the twins are not going anywhere. And neither am I. He gestured toward the door. Now, if you will excuse me, I have work to do, and you have a gala to attend. Alone. After Preston left, Claudia poked her head in. Everything okay, Mr. Grayson? Everything is perfect, Claudia. For the first time in a long time. The rest of the week crawled by. Callum threw himself into work during the days and called Harper every evening. They fell into an easy rhythm, sharing small details about their days, laughing over the twins' latest antics. Asher had successfully built a working robot from his kit. It could pick up small objects and do a clumsy dance. Willow had filled half her sketchbook with drawings of Silver Crest from memory, each one capturing details Harper had not realized she noticed. On Thursday night, Harper lay in bed scrolling through the photos Callum had sent over the week. Him at his desk with a coffee cup, Asher had drawn on digitally as a joke. A sunset from his balcony with the caption, "Wish you were here." A screenshot of a robotics competition he thought Asher would enjoy. Each image felt like a small offering. A man trying to bridge 200 miles with pixels and words. Her phone rang. Callum. Could not sleep, she answered. Too excited about tomorrow. I feel like a kid before Christmas. What time are you leaving? 6 a.m. I want to be there by 1. I thought we could spend the afternoon together. All 4 of us. Then maybe dinner, just us. The twins have a sleepover at my friend Monica's house. She has twins too. They're best friends. Perfect. His voice dropped lower. Harper, I need you to know something. Okay. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever we decide about the future, I am committed to making this work, to being the father Asher and Willow deserve, and to proving to you that I am worth a second chance. Callum, you do not have to say anything. I just needed you to know where I stand. Harper's eyes filled with tears. I am scared. I know, so am I. But I think the best things in life are usually terrifying at first. They talked until Harper's eyes grew heavy, his voice the last thing she heard before drifting to sleep with the phone still pressed to her ear. Friday morning arrived bright and cold. Harper woke to find a text sent at 5:30 a.m. On the road. Cannot wait to see you. All of you. The twins were bouncing off the walls with excitement. They changed outfits 3 times, argued about which toys to show their dad first, and asked Harper every 10 minutes if he was there yet. At 12:45, a sleek silver SUV pulled up in front of their modest beach cottage. Harper watched from the window as Callum climbed out, looking slightly out of place in his designer jeans and expensive jacket among the weathered beach houses and sandy yards. Then Asher and Willow burst through the door, and Callum's face transformed. The polished CEO disappeared, replaced by a father gathering his children, in his arms like they were the most precious things in the world. Harper stepped onto the porch, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. Callum looked up, meeting her eyes over the twins' heads, and smiled. Hi. Hi yourself. Come on in. Welcome to Fernwood. The cottage was small compared to his townhouse. Living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Lived in and cozy, with the twins' artwork covering the fridge and their shoes scattered by the door. Callum took it all in, his expression soft. I love it. It feels like a home. We have tried. Harper fidgeted with her necklace, the one with the twins' birthstones. It is not fancy, but it is ours. It is perfect. The twins dragged him through every room, showing him their shared bedroom with its bunk beds and overflowing bookshelves. Willow's art corner where sketches and paintings covered every surface. Asher's desk where he built his robots and took apart electronics. And this is Mr. Whiskers. Willow presented their elderly orange cat with the reverence of introducing royalty. The cat opened one eye, judged Callum unworthy of further attention, and went back to sleep. I think he likes you. Asher grinned. He usually hisses at strangers. I am honored. They spent the afternoon on the beach, the 4 of them walking the shoreline while the twins collected shells and sea glass. Callum asked Harper about her work, and she found herself talking about the community garden project. She was designing the playground renovation, the small but meaningful ways she had built a career. You are doing exactly what you dreamed of. He said it with genuine admiration, creating spaces for people to connect with nature on a smaller scale than I imagined. But yes, it is good work. It is important work. He picked up a piece of driftwood Willow had declared perfect. Scale does not determine value. Is that what you tell yourself when you run a $3 billion company? He laughed. Touché. But honestly, most days the company feels like moving numbers around. What you do, what you create, that lasts. That matters. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, the twins running ahead to chase sandpipers. This place is good for them. Callum gestured at the open beach, the small town visible in the distance. They seem happy. They are. We have a good life here. The unspoken question hung between them. How do we preserve that while integrating him into it? As if reading her mind, Callum spoke carefully. I have been thinking about logistics. How to make this work practically. Me too. What if I worked remotely 2 weeks a month? I could stay here, be part of their daily routine. Then 2 weeks in Silver Crest for essential meetings and board responsibilities. You would do that? Upend your whole life? Harper, my life has been empty for 12 years. This, he gestured at the twins, at the beach, at her. This is what I want my life to look like. Before Harper could respond, Asher called out, Dad, come look at this tide pool. There are tiny crabs. Callum jogged over, and Harper watched him crouch beside their son, examining the miniature ecosystem with genuine fascination. Explaining the biology, answering Asher's rapid-fire questions, completely engaged. Willow slipped her hand into Harper's. He fits, does he not, Mom? Like he was always supposed to be here. Harper squeezed her daughter's hand. Yeah, baby. He really does. That evening, Monica arrived to collect the twins for their sleepover. She was Harper's closest friend in Fernwood, a warm, no-nonsense woman who had helped Harper through countless parenting challenges. So, you are the famous Callum. Monica looked him up and down appraisingly. Harper has told me absolutely nothing about you, which tells me everything. Callum offered his hand with an easy smile. I am trying to earn my way back into their lives. Any advice would be appreciated. Love them, show up, and do not hurt my best friend again. Monica's tone was light, but her eyes were serious. She has been through enough. I know. And I promise, I am here to make things right. After the twins left, chattering excitedly about the movies and snacks Monica had planned, Harper and Callum stood in the suddenly quiet cottage. So, Harper smoothed her hands on her jeans. I should probably change for dinner. You look perfect. I am wearing my everyday jeans and a sweater with cat hair on it. Still perfect. But if you want to change, I will wait. 20 minutes later, Harper emerged in a simple green dress that brought out the gold in her eyes. She had left her hair down, and Callum's expression when he saw her made her glad she had made the effort. You are beautiful. The words were quiet, reverent. You are not so bad yourself. He had changed too, into dark slacks and a sweater that made his eyes impossibly green. They drove to a small Italian restaurant overlooking the harbor. The owner, Giovanni, greeted Harper with a warm hug. Harper, Bella, it has been too long. I have been busy, Gio. This is Callum. Giovanni studied Callum with the protective air of a father figure. Any friend of Harper's is welcome. Come, I have the best table for you. He led them to a corner booth with windows overlooking the water. Candles flickered on the table, and soft jazz played from hidden speakers. After they ordered, an awkward silence settled. 12 years of separation, 3 days of reunion, a week of phone calls, all of it building to this moment. Callum spoke first. I do not know where to start. How about the beginning? Harper managed a small smile. Or the middle. Or wherever feels right. The middle, then. He leaned forward. Harper, I need to understand something. When you were pregnant, did you ever think about telling me? Even once? Harper had known this question would come. She owed him the complete truth. Every day, every single day, I would pick up the phone and dial your number, then hang up before it rang. I wrote you letters I never sent, practiced conversations in my head. What stopped you? Fear, your father's threats, but also, she took a breath, also fear that you would choose him over me, that you would believe I was trying to trap you, that the life you were building was more important than what we had. Callum's expression was pained. How could you think that? After everything we shared? Because I was 24 and had been poor my entire life. You were a Grayson. You had a legacy, expectations, a future mapped out before you were born. I was a detour, Callum. A beautiful detour, but not the destination. You were never a detour. You were the destination. Everything else was just the journey to find you. Harper's eyes filled with tears. I wish I had believed that then. And now? Do you believe it now? I am trying to. But Callum, believing it means risking everything again. It means trusting that this time will be different, that your father will not find a way to destroy us, that the distance and the logistics will not tear us apart, that we can actually make this work. Callum reached across the table, taking her hand. I cannot promise it will be easy, but I can promise I will fight for us every single day. I will make the distance work. I will stand up to my father as many times as it takes. I will show up for every school event and soccer game and art show. I will prove to you that you and Asher and Willow are my priority. What about Grayson Global? Your responsibilities there? I have a team of brilliant people who can handle day-to-day operations. I will be present for the things that actually need the CEO and remote for everything else. Technology exists for a reason. Harper wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this perfect vision could become reality. But fear held her back. I need time, Callum. Time to see if this version of us can actually work. Time to make sure the twins are stable and happy. Time to trust that you mean what you say. I will give you all the time you need. His thumb traced circles on her palm. But Harper, while you are taking that time, I need you to know something. What? I am still in love with you. I have been in love with you for 12 years, through your absence and silence and return. That has not changed. That will not change. The words hung in the candlelit space between them. I am still in love with you too. Harper's voice broke. That is what makes this so terrifying. Then let us be terrified together. Their food arrived, breaking the intensity of the moment. They ate slowly, the conversation drifting to safer topics. Fernwood's quirks and characters, Silvercrest's changes over the years, the twin school and friends and little personalities. Asher is so much like you. Harper speared a piece of pasta. The way his mind works, always analyzing and problem-solving. Willow has your creativity, the way she sees the world. Callum smiled. Did you know she told me she wants to paint the ocean the way it feels, not just the way it looks? That is very Willow. Harper felt her chest warm. She is going to be something special. They both are. Because they had you raising them. The compliment landed softly, sincerely. After dinner, they walked along the harbor. The night was cold and clear, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. Callum shrugged off his jacket and draped it over Harper's shoulders. Thank you. They walked in silence for a while, eventually ending up on a bench overlooking the water. This is where I come when I need to think. Harper pulled his jacket tighter around herself. When the twins were babies, and I was overwhelmed, I would bring them here in the stroller. Something about the water always settled me. I can see why. It is peaceful. Fernwood saved me, Callum. This town, these people, they gave me a chance when I had nothing. Monica helped me find work. Giovanni gave me free meals when money was tight. The school gave the twins scholarships. This place became home, and you are afraid of leaving it. Terrified, Callum turned to face her. Then do not leave. I will come here. We will make it work. For how long? Realistically, Callum, you cannot commute from Silvercrest forever. Why not? Because you have a life there, a company to run, commitments. I can fulfill all of that remotely or with strategic trips. The only commitment that actually matters is sitting right here. What about the twins' school? Their friends? Their stability? They keep all of that. I integrate into their world instead of pulling them into mine. That is not fair to you. Callum laughed, but there was no humor in it. Harper, I missed their entire childhoods. I do not get to complain about inconvenience. I will live wherever you need me to live. I will adjust my entire life if it means being part of theirs. The fierce determination in his voice moved her. You really mean that? Every word. Harper looked out at the dark water, gathering her courage for what she needed to say next. When I left Silvercrest 12 years ago, I promised myself I would never let anyone have that much power over me again. I built a life where I was in control, where I made the decisions, where I was enough on my own. I understand that. But the truth is, I do not want to be on my own anymore. I do not want to parent alone or eat dinner alone or have half the bed empty. I want partnership. I want someone who shows up and stays. I am showing up, and I am staying. She turned to him, eyes bright with unshed tears. Then show me, not with grand gestures or promises, but with the boring everyday stuff, morning coffee and bedtime routines and grocery shopping. Show me you can handle the ordinary, and maybe I will believe you can handle forever. Callum cupped her face gently. I will show you every day for the rest of my life, if you let me. Then he kissed her, soft and careful, a question and a promise wrapped into one moment. Harper kissed him back, 12 years of longing pouring into the connection. It felt like coming home and starting an adventure at the same time. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Callum rested his forehead against hers. I have missed you so much. I have missed you too. They sat wrapped in each other's arms as the stars wheeled overhead. Two people who had found their way back against impossible odds. Harper's phone buzzed. A text from Monica. Twins are asleep. Take your time. You deserve this. She showed Callum, and he smiled. I like Monica. She is protective. Fiercely protective. She basically raised the twins with me. Then I need to win her over too. You are off to a good start. They stayed on the bench until the cold became uncomfortable, then walked back to Harper's cottage hand in hand. At her door, Callum hesitated. I should probably get a hotel room. There is a guest room. Harper's voice was shy. If you want to stay. So, you do not have to drive. Are you sure? I am sure. Inside, she showed him the small guest room, barely big enough for the twin bed and dresser. It is not much. It is perfect. Callum set his overnight bag down. Thank you. An awkward pause settled between them. Well, good night then. Good night, Harper. She turned to leave, then spun back impulsively and kissed him quickly. I am glad you are here. Before he could respond, she disappeared into her bedroom, heart racing. Callum stood in the small guest room, touching his lips where hers had been, and smiled. The next morning, Harper woke to the smell of coffee and something baking. She pulled on a robe and padded into the kitchen to find Callum pulling muffins from the oven. You bake. I have hidden talents. He grinned. Also, I found a box of muffin mix in your pantry and figured I should contribute to breakfast. I am impressed. They ate together at her small kitchen table, the morning sun streaming through the windows, and it felt so domestic and right that Harper's chest ached. What is the plan for today? Callum asked, finishing his coffee. I thought we could pick up the twins, then maybe show you around Fernwood. The twins will want to take you to their favorite places. I would love that. Monica dropped off the twins mid-morning, both of them still buzzing with energy from their sleepover. Dad, Willow launched herself at Callum. You stayed. I promised I would. Can we show you our school? And the beach fort we built? And the ice cream place that has 37 flavors? Absolutely. All of it. They spent the day touring Fernwood through Asher and Willow's eyes. The elementary school where both twins were in 5th grade. The playground where they spent every afternoon. the library where Willow checked out art books and Asher found science journals. At each stop, people greeted Harper warmly and studied Callum with curious but friendly interest. Small-town life meant everyone knew the single mom and her twins. The sudden appearance of a father figure was bound to cause talk. At the ice cream shop, they ran into Monica and her twins. "So you survived the sleepover?" Monica winked at Harper. "Barely. Both sets of kids barely slept. The twins ran off to the playground equipment while the adults sat at a picnic table." Monica turned her attention to Callum. "Okay, real talk. What are your intentions here?" "Monica." Harper's tone was warning. "No, it is fine." Callum met Monica's eyes steadily. "My intention is to be the father I should have been from the beginning, to support Harper however she needs, and if she will let me, to build a life with all three of them. And when the novelty wears off, when you realize that small-town life is boring compared to running a corporation, then I will find a way to make small-town life more interesting. Because the alternative, going back to the empty life I had before, is not an option." Monica studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Good answer. Hurt them and I will destroy you. I would expect nothing less." After ice cream, they walked to the beach where the twins showed Callum the fort they had built from driftwood over the summer. It was an impressive structure, showing Asher's engineering mind and Willow's artistic touches. "We come here almost every day," Asher explained. "It is our thinking spot. I love it." Callum examined the construction with genuine admiration. "You two are incredibly talented. Do you want to help us make it bigger?" Willow asked hopefully. They spent the next 2 hours gathering driftwood and reinforcing the fort's walls. Callum followed Asher's instructions for the structural elements while incorporating Willow's decorative ideas. By the time they finished, all 4 of them were covered in sand and grinning. "This is the best day ever," Willow declared, flopping onto the sand. "Agreed." Asher stretched out beside his sister. Harper caught Callum's eye, and the look they shared was full of hope and possibility. That evening, after the twins were in bed, Harper and Callum sat on her small back deck watching the stars. "They are incredible." Callum's voice was full of wonder. "How did you do it? Raise such amazing kids alone?" "I did not feel amazing most of the time." Harper leaned against him. "I felt terrified and overwhelmed and constantly worried I was screwing everything up." "You did not screw anything up. You gave them stability and love and a childhood full of joy. That is everything that matters. I wish you had been there for it." "So do I. But I am here now, and I am not going anywhere." Harper turned to face him. "Callum, I need to tell you something." "Okay, I have been thinking about what you said, about making this work, about integrating into our lives here. And I think we should try, really try. Not just co-parenting from a distance, but actually building something together." Callum's breath caught. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that I want you in our lives, fully. I want the twins to have their father. I want to see if we can be what we were supposed to be 12 years ago. Harper." "But," she held up a hand, "we take it slow. You keep your place in Silvercrest and visit regularly. We give the twins time to adjust. We make sure this is stable before we make any permanent changes. I can do that. I can do slow. And we go to therapy, all of us. Family therapy with the twins, couples therapy for us. We deal with the past honestly instead of pretending 12 years did not happen. That is fair. And if at any point the twins are struggling or this is not working, we reassess. They come first, always." "Agreed." Callum took her hands. "Anything else?" Harper smiled. "That is it for now. I reserve the right to add more conditions as I think of them." He laughed and pulled her close. "I love you, Harper Quinn. I love you and your ridiculous cat and your perfect children and this tiny cottage and this whole small town. I love all of it because it is you. I love you too, Callum Grayson. Even though you come with expensive baggage and a nightmare father and a life that scares me. We will figure it out." "Yeah." Harper rested her head on his shoulder. "I think we will." Sunday morning came too quickly. Callum had to drive back to Silvercrest for Monday meetings, and the goodbye was harder than the first one. Both twins clung to him at the car. "When are you coming back?" Willow's eyes were wet. "Next weekend. I promise. And I will call every night." "Promise?" Asher needed the verbal commitment. "I promise, buddy. Wild horses could not keep me away." After he left, Harper found both twins subdued and quiet. I miss him already." Willow curled up on the couch. "Me too." Harper pulled them both close. "But he will call tonight, and Friday will be here before you know it." That week, Callum kept his promise. He called every evening, talking to each twin individually about their days. He sent care packages, a new engineering magazine for Asher, art supplies for Willow, flowers for Harper with a note that said, "Simply counting the days." On Wednesday, Harper's phone rang during lunch, an unknown Silvercrest number. "Hello, Miss Quinn. This is Preston Grayson." Harper's blood went cold. "Mr. Grayson, what can I do for you?" "We need to discuss the current situation. I propose we meet this weekend when Callum is in Fernwood, Saturday afternoon. I will come to you. I do not think that is a good idea. I think it is necessary." His tone was steel-wrapped in civility. "Unless you would prefer I pursue other avenues to resolve this matter." The threat was clear. What other avenues? Legal ones. Custody evaluations. Questions about your fitness as a parent. "I have resources, Miss Quinn. I suggest we talk instead." Harper's hands shook with anger. "Fine. Saturday at 2. There is a coffee shop on Main Street called Brewster's. We will meet there. In public. Excellent. I look forward to a productive conversation." He hung up before she could respond. Harper immediately called Callum. "Your father just called me. He wants to meet this weekend." Callum's response was immediate and fierce. "Absolutely not. You are not meeting with him alone. He threatened legal action if I did not. Then, let him try. I will bury him in countersuits." "Callum, I do not want to fight. I do not want the twins exposed to a legal battle. Neither do I, which is why I am handling this. You do not have to face him." "Maybe I do. Maybe we both do. Together." Callum was silent for a moment. "Okay, together. But Harper, if he threatens you or the kids in any way, I am done playing nice." "Agreed." That Saturday, Callum arrived in Fernwood Friday night instead of Saturday morning. He wanted extra time to prepare for the confrontation with his father. They spent Friday evening with the twins, keeping things light and normal. But after the kids were in bed, they sat down to strategize. "He is going to try to divide us." Callum was certain. "That is what he does. He will make you feel like you are the problem, like you are standing in the way of what is best for the twins. I can handle Preston Grayson." Harper's voice was stronger than she felt. "I know you can, but you should not have to handle him alone. Not anymore." Saturday morning, they told the twins they had adult business to take care of and asked Monica to watch them for a few hours. "Is everything okay?" Asher's perceptiveness caught the tension. "Everything is fine, buddy." Harper smoothed his hair. "We just need to take care of some boring grown-up stuff." At 1:55, Harper and Callum walked into Brewster's coffee shop hand in hand. Preston was already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. He stood as they approached, his expression unreadable. "Callum." "Harper, thank you for meeting me. Let us skip the pleasantries, Dad." Callum's tone was cold. "Say what you came to say." The 3 of them sat, and Preston looked at Harper directly. "Miss Quinn, I owe you an apology." The words were so unexpected that Harper actually blinked. "Excuse me? 12 years ago, I made a decision based on what I believed was best for my son. I threatened you, manipulated the situation, and drove you away. That was wrong." Callum stared at his father, clearly as shocked as Harper. "In doing so," Preston continued, "I deprived Callum of 12 years with his children. I robbed Asher and Willow of their father. And I've spent the last week coming to terms with the fact that my actions caused irreparable harm. So, you are here to apologize?" Callum's voice dripped with skepticism. "I am here to make amends." Preston pulled an envelope from his jacket. "I have had my attorneys draw up papers relinquishing any claim I might have to involvement in custody or decisions regarding the children. I will not interfere. I will not threaten legal action. I will respect whatever arrangement you and Callum agree upon." Harper took the envelope with shaking hands, scanning the legal document inside. It was exactly what Preston described. "Why?" She looked up at him. "Why now?" "Because my son made it very clear that if I did not change, I would lose him forever. And I have realized that being right is not worth being alone." Preston's voice carried real emotion for the first time. "I have spent my life building an empire, but empires mean nothing without family to share them with. I made a choice 12 years ago that cost me the relationship with my son. I am not making that mistake again. Callum studied his father, looking for the trap. What do you want in return? Preston smiled sadly. The chance to meet my grandchildren. Not today, not until you are both comfortable. But someday, I would like to know them, if you will allow it. Harper looked at Callum, having a silent conversation. Finally, Callum spoke. You heard us, Dad. All of us. That does not go away because you signed some papers. I know. And if you ever threaten Harper or the twins again, I will cut you out completely. No second chances. I understand. But, Callum took a breath. If you are serious about making amends, if you are willing to respect our boundaries and decisions, then maybe someday we can rebuild. That is all I ask. Preston stood, extending his hand to Harper. I am sorry, Miss Quinn. Truly. I cannot undo the past, but I hope I can prove that people can change. Harper shook his hand, still wary but willing to consider the possibility. Time will tell, Mr. Grayson. After Preston left, Harper and Callum sat in stunned silence. Did that actually just happen? Harper finally asked. I think so. Callum looked at the legal papers. I do not trust it completely, but it is a start. Do you think he meant it? About wanting to know the twins? Maybe. My father has never been good with emotions. But losing my mother changed him, and the threat of losing me completely might have actually gotten through. What do? We take it slow, see if his actions match his words. Protect the twins above everything else. Agreed. They sat quietly for a moment, processing. You know what this means? Harper said slowly. What? One less obstacle between us. One less reason to be afraid. Callum reached across the table, lacing his fingers through hers. Does that mean you are ready to stop being afraid? I am ready to try. They walked back to Monica's house hand in hand, feeling like maybe, just maybe, the universe was finally on their side. The months that followed established a rhythm that worked. Callum spent 2 weeks in Fernwood, living in the guest room but integrated into every aspect of daily life. He learned the twins' schedules, their teachers' names, their friends' inside jokes. He helped with homework and drove carpool and showed up for soccer games and art shows. Then he would spend a week in Silver Crest handling essential business, video calling with the twins every night. It was not perfect. There were challenges. Asher struggled with the transitions, needing extra reassurance each time Callum left. Willow worried that her dad would decide they were too much work and disappear again. But slowly, steadily, trust built. Callum proved through actions that he was staying. Harper proved through patience that she was willing to let him in. The twins proved through their resilience that children could adapt if they felt secure and loved. Harper and Callum attended therapy, individually and together, working through 12 years of pain and misunderstanding. It was hard work, often tearful, sometimes angry, but they did the work. In February, 4 months after their reunion, Harper's landlord informed her that he was selling the cottage. She had first right of refusal to buy, but the price was beyond what she could afford. That evening she broke the news to Callum over the phone. We will figure it out. His response was immediate. What if I buy it? Callum, I cannot ask you to do that. You are not asking. I am offering. The twins love that house. It is their home. Let me do this for them. Let me think about it. She talked to Monica the next day over coffee. He wants to buy your house? Monica stirred her latte thoughtfully. He says it is for the twins, so they do not have to move. Is it for the twins, or is it a way to tie you all together? Harper had wondered the same thing. Maybe both. Do you want to be tied to him? The question was simple but profound. Yes. Harper realized the truth as she spoke it. I do. I want to build a life with him. A real life. Not this split between cities arrangement. So tell him that. That night, Harper called Callum back. About the house. I have a counter offer. Okay. She heard the caution in his voice. Do not buy the cottage. Buy us a house. A bigger house. With enough bedrooms for the kids to have their own rooms. And a guest room for when your dad visits, if we ever get to that point. And a home office where you can work when you are here. A house we choose together. Callum was silent for so long, Harper worried the connection had dropped. Callum? His voice when he spoke was rough with emotion. Are you asking me to move to Fernwood? I am asking you to make Fernwood our home base. Keep your place in Silver Crest for when you need to be there. But be here with us. Really be here. Not visiting, but living. Harper, are you sure? I have never been more sure of anything. When can we start house hunting? How about next weekend? They found a house in March. A weathered Cape Cod-style home 3 blocks from the beach, with 4 bedrooms and a yard big enough for the twins to play. It needed work, but it had good bones and a view of the water from the 2nd floor. The twins fell in love with it immediately. Asher claimed the room with the best light for his workspace. Willow wanted the smaller room because it had a window seat perfect for sketching. They closed on the house in April and spent weekends painting and renovating. Callum threw himself into the work with the same intensity he brought to corporate deals. Harper directed the design, creating a space that blended both their styles. Preston visited once during the renovation, tentative and careful. He brought expensive tools Callum had mentioned needing and spent the afternoon helping install kitchen cabinets. It was awkward. The twins were polite but distant, but it was a start. In May, they moved in. Friends from Fernwood helped haul boxes, while Monica provided pizza and sarcastic commentary. By evening, they were exhausted and surrounded by chaos, but it felt like home. That night, after the twins were asleep in their new rooms, Harper and Callum stood on the back deck looking at the stars. We did it. Harper leaned against the railing. We actually built something real. We did. Callum wrapped his arms around her from behind. And I have something I want to ask you. Okay. He turned her to face him, and she saw him pull a small velvet box from his pocket. Her breath caught. Callum. Harper Quinn, 12 years ago I bought an engagement ring and planned to ask you to marry me. Then I lost you, and I thought I had lost my chance at happiness. But fate gave us a second chance. It gave me you and Asher and Willow and this beautiful chaotic life we are building. So I am asking now what I should have asked then. Will you marry me? He opened the box to reveal the same ring. The one he had carried for over a decade. Simple, elegant, perfect. You kept it. Harper's eyes filled with tears. All this time you kept it. I never stopped hoping. Harper looked at the man who had fought for her, who had rearranged his entire life to be part of hers, who had proven through action that love could survive anything. Yes, the word came out strong and certain. Yes, I will marry you. Callum slipped the ring onto her finger, and they both laughed through their tears at how right it felt. The kiss they shared was full of promise and hope and the relief of finally getting to the happy ending they had been denied for so long. Inside, they heard a squeal. Both twins were pressed against the window, watching. Did you see that? Willow's voice carried through the glass. He proposed. I knew it. Asher pumped his fist. I totally called it. Callum and Harper looked at each other and laughed. I think we have an audience. Harper waved at the twins. Let them in on this. They opened the door, and both kids rushed out. Are you getting married? Willow demanded. We are. Harper showed them the ring. Does this mean Dad is staying forever? Asher asked. Callum crouched to their level. It means I am staying forever. It means we are a family. For real. Forever. Both twins launched themselves at him, and Harper joined the embrace, the 4 of them wrapped together under the stars. The wedding took place in August on the beach in Fernwood. It was small and perfect. Monica stood as Harper's maid of honor. Callum asked Mitchell, his most trusted colleague, to be his best man. Asher and Willow stood beside their parents, integral parts of the ceremony. Preston attended, sitting quietly in the back. After the ceremony, he approached hesitantly. Congratulations. His voice was genuine. You have built something beautiful. Thank you, Dad. Callum shook his hand. Thank you for being here. Preston turned to Harper. I hope you know how rare it is to find your way back after such pain. You are giving my son the life I nearly destroyed. I am grateful. Harper nodded, accepting the words even if full trust would take more time. Later, at the small reception, Callum pulled Harper aside. Happy. Incredibly. She rested her head on his shoulder. I have everything I ever wanted. So do I. He kissed her temple. So do I. As the sun set over the Pacific, casting everything in gold light, Harper looked around at the life they had created. The twins building sandcastles with their friends, Monica arguing good-naturedly with Mitchell about whether the cake needed more frosting, Preston attempting awkward conversation with Giovanni, their community, blended and imperfect, and theirs, She thought about the terrified 24-year-old who had run from Silver Crest with nothing but fear and a secret. Thought about the years of struggle and doubt. Thought about the moment in the cemetery when everything changed. And she understood that sometimes the longest journeys led exactly where they needed to. 2 years after the wedding, Harper stood in the twins' shared art studio, a converted garage space Callum had renovated. Asher worked at his engineering table on a robotics project for the county science fair. Willow painted at her easel, capturing the sunset in watercolors. At 13, they had grown into themselves even more. Asher with Callum's height starting to show, his brilliant mind already, catching the attention of prep schools and enrichment programs. Willow with Harper's grace and Callum's intensity, her artwork displayed in local galleries. They spent holidays in Silver Crest with Preston, who had slowly earned his way into being a real grandfather. Summers in Fernwood, a blended life that worked because everyone worked at it. Harper felt arms wrap around her from behind. "What are you thinking about?" Callum's voice was warm against her ear. "How far we have come, how different things could have been. Do you regret any of it?" She turned in his arms. "I regret the years we lost, but I do not regret the journey. It made us who we are. Speaking of which," he grinned, "I have news, okay? I am officially stepping down as CEO of Grayson Global." Harper's eyes widened. "What?" "I am transitioning to chairman. Mitchell will take over as CEO. It means I can be fully remote, fully here. No more weeks in Silver Crest, just occasional board meetings and strategic planning. Callum, that is your legacy." "No." He cupped her face gently. "This is my legacy. You and those incredible humans in that garage. The life we built. The company is just a company. This is what matters." Harper kissed him, her heart full. "I love you. I love you too. Always have. Always will." From the garage came Asher's voice. "Dad, can you help me with this gear ratio?" And Willow's, "Mom, what color is Hope supposed to be?" Harper and Callum looked at each other and laughed. "Duty calls." Harper squeezed his hand. "The best duty there is." They walked to the garage together, and Harper paused at the threshold, taking in the scene. Her family, whole and healed, doing the ordinary, extraordinary work of living and loving. 12 years ago, Preston Grayson had tried to separate them, had succeeded for over a decade. But in the end, love proved stronger than manipulation. Truth proved stronger than fear. And the family that had been fractured found its way back to wholeness. Not because it was easy, but because it was worth fighting for. Harper stepped into the garage, ready to debate the color of hope and solve engineering problems. Ready for all the beautiful mundane moments that made a life. Ready for forever, with the man she never stopped loving and the children who made it all worthwhile. Outside, the sun set over Fernwood in streaks of orange and pink. The ocean whispered its ancient rhythm, and inside a converted garage 3 blocks from the beach, a family that had been torn apart and stitched back together lived there happily ever after. One ordinary, precious day at a time. If this story has moved you, if you believe in second chances and fighting for what matters, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel because we are building a community of people who believe love wins. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone who thinks it is too late, or that too much damage has been done, or that reconciliation is impossible. This story says otherwise, and I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had a second chance at something you thought was lost forever? Have you ever had to rebuild trust after it was shattered? Or just tell me where in the world you are watching from. Say I'm with you, Dr. Phillips, so I know we are in this together. If you want more stories that restore your faith in humanity, subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below, and let's talk. I read every single comment, because this is not just a channel. This is a conversation. We are building something together. A reminder that no matter how dark things get, love finds a way. Until next time, remember, your story is not over. The best chapters might still be unwritten. Keep believing. Keep fighting. Keep loving. This is Dr. Phillips, reminding you that some love stories do not follow straight lines. They break and scatter and seem beyond repair. But the ones worth keeping, the ones that truly matter, always find their way back. Always. I will see you in the next story. Until then, hold on to hope. It is stronger than you think.